Bulgaria says a military drone entered its airspace hours ago and exploded close to an international gas pipeline. The blast happened near the Kardam border crossing with Romania, close to the trans-Balkan pipeline that links Turkey to Ukraine. There were no reported casualties or damage to property. The Defense Ministry said the drone was carrying explosives and matched a type commonly used by Ukraine's military. Ukraine says it is working with Sofia to clarify the incident, but insists it did not intentionally target Bulgaria. Earlier, the Bulgarian Prime Minister gave more details about the drone at a press conference.
We now have footage from this drone. Of course, it was damaged in the explosion. We can't yet identify the type of drone. It is currently being examined. We will let you know as soon as we find out. But it is not a toy drone. It is a large drone. Again, according to border guards who were in the area, a loud explosion accompanied by black smoke was heard. We cannot answer that at this stage, but one thing is certain. The drone must have carried a substantial amount of explosives, enough to be heard from a distance and to send up that black smoke.
We have with us Petar Cholakov, Associate Professor of Sociology at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. It's good to have you with us, Petar. Now, this is the first time a drone has... Yeah, it's good to have you with us. This is the first time a drone has exploded on Bulgarian soil, although it does fit a pattern of incursions in the region. What does this tell us about how close this war has come to Bulgaria?
Apparently, it's too close. The drone has exploded about 1,000 meters from critical infrastructure, as you have mentioned yourself. It's a gas pipeline. So obviously this raises the concerns in society and is probably going to be used by politicians ahead of the presidential elections, which are due at the end of October this year.
OK, we'll talk about that domestic effect in just a bit, but would you consider this a serious security breach? I mean, is it something Bulgaria could have done more to prevent?
What is apparent is Bulgaria needs urgently better radar systems, 3D radar systems, as Prime Minister has stated himself. So this is something that has to be addressed urgently. Now, what he has commented as well is that although the drone is a military drone, a decoy type of drone, it is relatively small size, as we know, and it flies close to the ground. So it's very, very difficult to detect such an aircraft. So definitely, I would say it will be used in the campaigns here in the society, but I wouldn't go as far as to dramatize this incident. I wouldn't go as far as to do that.
But considering it crossed two borders, the Romanian and then Bulgarian, yes. And neither of the air defense systems there registered it. Wouldn't that be a worry?
It is definitely a worry. It is definitely a worry. What we know is it flew. Obviously, there military action at this particular region, and what is worrying is that, like I say, it blew very close to this strategic infrastructure. Because of the war and, of course, Bulgarian border of the Black Sea, which connects Bulgaria with Ukraine and the whole region where is the war going on, we have seen before that debris from military equipment, which was going towards Bulgarian shores. So we're not surprised because of this, but this is the first time we have this sort of incident with a drone in Bulgarian airspace. Yes.
And we have heard from the Ukrainians saying they did not deliberately target Bulgaria. They're blaming the incident on Russia's invasion. Do you think that explanation is likely to satisfy the Bulgarian public opinion?
probably is not going to satisfy the Bulgarian public opinion at all, because the Bulgarian public opinion is deeply divided regarding the Russo-Ukrainian war. On the one hand, the public opinion, 60% of Bulgarians, according to surveys by Eurobarometer, for example, Globsec and others, say that Bulgarians, most of the Bulgarians blame Russia for the war. But at the same time, 66% of Bulgarians do not want Bulgaria to support Ukraine with weapons. And so now that we have the situation with this drone, which blew over the territory of Bulgaria, and obviously the danger, because it happened so close to this critical infrastructure, is going to be used by politicians which are very critical of not only of Ukraine policies. There are some far-right political parties here which even claim that Ukraine is responsible for the whole war. So this is going to be used in their rhetoric as well. But more critically, probably is going to be used by the progressive Bulgarian, their candidate for the elections, because the government and the ruling party, their position is very, I would say, ambivalent regarding the war. On the one hand, the government is pro-European, but as far as the policies towards Ukraine, the prime minister, and before that he was President Radev, has said that he does not think that sanctions imposed on Russia work. So this incident is going to be thrown into the mix, and it is going to be thrown into the political campaign for sure. I'm certain of that.
Okay. Petar Cholakov from the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. We appreciate your thoughts on this story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laurentiu Plesca is program officer at the Bucharest office at the German Marshall Fund. Hello, Laurentiu. Thanks a lot for joining us. This incident happened on the border with Romania. How is the government responding?
There is actually a real discrepancy here worth highlighting, because, for instance, Bulgaria's Prime Minister Radev said that the drone entered Bulgarian space from Romania, implying it crossed already Romanian territory first. But we see also that the Bucharest, namely Ministry of Defense, pushed back directly, stating that its radar system detected no aerial vehicle crossing Romanian airspace towards Bulgaria at all. This could be explained, of course, because, for instance, Geran drones that we see really often that are violating the airspace of NATO, they fly at low altitude and are a genuine blind spot for conventional air defense radar. So I would say here that this is a real problem for the airspace security of NATO, especially since the fact that in late July we've seen a real problem for the Romanian airspace. We've seen how in 3 different days, actually, Romanian and NATO managed to intercept 3 drones and actually to fire at them. So this was the first case since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, since Romania actually took action and intercepted these drones. And I will also mention here the fact that this incident from today, it was real close to a important pipeline for Bulgaria. And it's really important right now with the energy crisis, of course.
It's also important to find out who's responsible. Was it Russia?
Is it not confirmed yet that this is a Russian drone? But we've seen how Bulgarian authorities actually mentioned that they have some footage here that can actually confirm whether is it a Russian drone or not. But there is a pattern since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and we've seen how actually there was a confirmation of Russian drones flying into the NATO airspace in the Baltic countries, in Poland, in Romania, and maybe now in Bulgaria. We've seen how Russia is operating, because we've seen an escalation of the war between Russia and Ukraine, now really important and really close to the Black Sea. Actually, Russia is launching these drones from the Shadow Fleet from the Black Sea, so there is a confirmation, but it targets, of course, Ukraine territory. But this pattern is already confirmed by international think tanks, and we see how, for instance, IISS report is that the 144 suspected drone sites across 13 European states. So this is a highly likely linked to the Russian Shadow Fleet campaign through individual attribution that remains really hard to demonstrate, and it's really ambiguous. And maybe Russia is really relying on this ambiguity.
Right. I mean, it's as you say, I guess investigations will have to be carried to find out really who's responsible. But yeah, Romania and Bulgaria are both NATO allies and members of the EU. What is Romania's position on Russia's war against Ukraine?
I would say that Romania is one of Ukraine's most committed backers on NATO's eastern flank. And concretely, it opened NATO's second largest logistical hub for military aid to Ukraine in January this year, working alongside the existing hub in Poland. We see how actually Romanian authorities are backing Ukraine in a lot of sense. There is a strategic partnership with Ukraine, and there is a agreement between President Nicu and President Zelensky in actually building, including drones in Romania with Ukraine experience. So there are really a lot of projects. Also speaking about economic aid, constant support is really instrumental for Ukrainian exports of grain. And of course, I will say that Romania is the country with the largest border with Ukraine, and this is really important to highlight, because the security of the Romanian border and implicitly of the NATO border is really highly recommended to keep it strong.
Right.
And,
quick one on this before you go.
Right.
Quick one on this before you go. I mean, how concerned really should people be about the risk of this conflict spilling over into NATO territory?
Of course, there is an escalation of the conflict right now, and we see lots of incidents that is affecting European countries, NATO countries, and of course, there are many measures of European authorities, of European Commission, of bilateral states, of Germany, of France, in actually making the case of a not spillover of the conflict into the NATO and Europe. Of course, right now it's really important to keep the security of NATO, even of course with the recent drone attacks, with the recent ballistic attacks in Poland, for instance, and the fact that European countries are mobilizing themselves and are actually building new projects such as drone wall, such as other important projects for aiding Ukraine. This is really important right now, because we've seen how in Russia these attacks are actually triggering also the life being of ordinary Russians right now, and it feels the impact of the war for the Russians that are now experiencing the war at their
We're going to
territory.
leave it here, Laurentiu. Laurentiu Plesca from the German Marshall Fund in
Thank you so much.
Bucharest. Thank you.